Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Open Your Eyes to the Universe. I'm Gabrielle Martin, your host for this evening. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, Open Your Eyes to the Universe is a series of contemporary talks and conversations, interviews and open-eyed meditations. And they're with people who inspire and uplift others by sharing their wisdom, their insights, and their experiences to co-create a better world. And as we begin tonight, the Youniverse team would like to acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the traditional custodians of the land upon which we meet. And I'm here in the Blue Mountains, and it's the area of the Gundungurra and the Darug people. And we pay respects to the elders of the past, the present and future, and acknowledge their spiritual connection to country. And we'd also like to acknowledge and respect the wise elder within us all, and the collective wisdom of all those here this evening. You might recall that last month we were talking with Hannah Weiner, an education designer, about the spirit of education. And we were chatting about the idea of education as one that extends far beyond the classroom walls, an idea of education that encapsulates all the experiences that shape how we learn and grow as people. That is an education concept that refers to who we are and who we yet want to become. And in the light of this, all of our life and our many relationships within it become educative experiences for our journey, including our spiritual journey. And when we consider education in this way, we realign with the deeper spirit of education, our aspirations for self, each other, and the world beyond. If you missed that episode, feel free to check it out on the Brahma Kumari's website here in Australia. But tonight, our topic is demystifying solitude, and we're joined by Marta Matarin. She's based in Barcelona, and it's presently about 10 a.m. there. In past centuries, solitude has often been associated with the search for the sacred, and very often solitude was assigned to the esoteric elite, if you like, monks, nuns, sannyasis, philosophers, and the like, who all followed some kind of path of isolation, cloistered in silence, speaking really, and having a singular focus on the divine. And in more recent decades, solitude is less mystified, yet perhaps more feared. Many people find themselves being scared of being alone and associate it with loneliness. However, those who choose solitude say that this is not the case, and that making time for oneself to be in solitude is the choice to be alone, where the time can be used for reflection on who you really are, reflection on your own inner thoughts and feelings, or to consider where you're going, where you want to go, or how far you've come. And equally, some people enjoy spending quality time by themselves in solitude as a means to regain energy or simply enjoy their own company. And so, viewers, what's your view on solitude? Revered, feared, elusive, or craved for? What are your thoughts and experiences? Feel free to pop them in the chat box and we'll look at them later. What I note is that solitude is often positioned against being actively engaged with others and communities and our world, as if it can only be one or the other, solitude or actively engaged. Yet, is it possible to live in solitude and be simultaneously actively engaged with others in our communities and in our world? So tonight, we're unpacking and exploring solitude. We're going to demystify it, and we're with Marta Matarin, someone who I know enjoys solitude while living with others and living with presence in our world. Let me tell you a little bit about Marta. She started her spiritual journey when she was about 14 years old, and she's worked in foreign trade, human resources, and as a translator. She's fluent in English, and of course her mother tongue is Spanish. Marta is the coordinator of the Brahma Kumari Centre in Barcelona in Spain, and she's travelled to several countries giving seminars on a variety of topics such as self-esteem, positive thinking, and spiritual intelligence. Marta has participated in committees organising conferences on peace, human rights, and women's empowerment. And although being fully occupied in activity, her love for silence and spirituality has allowed her to deepen her practice of solitude, both in the company of others and in her own company. So Marta, a very warm welcome to Youniverse. It's really lovely to have you with us this evening. And I know it's your morning, so thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
It's lovely to see you once again. And I have warm memories of your presence and your innate way of just being able to go into solitude, and you have a lovely vibration of silence about you. So let's begin our conversation this evening by asking you, what is solitude and how's it different from loneliness?
Yes, this is the question that many people ask, because one thing is to be alone and one thing is to experience solitude. And let me start by sharing that when I was little, I always was quite afraid of being with people and quite comfortable being alone. But that was because of shyness. Because I was shy, so I was not that comfortable sharing and being open with others. But then I also could see the other side of it, when I could be alone and fully happy inside, but I didn't want to be aside from the others. So for me, it's completely different, because I've had the experience of being with many people and really having that experience of solitude. And also I can be surrounded by many people and feeling that I don't belong here. You may be in contact with many people and really experience that you are alone. So then that gave me the chance to think about it a lot, because then what is it, what is it to really be in solitude, in a positive solitude? Because here the tendency is of talking and talking. Spanish people are very talkative. In different regions it's different, but when you feel that you have to be part of something, you have to be part of a group. And at the same time, I always felt so comfortable being in silence. For example, I would just enter into a church just to be there by myself, and I would just enjoy just being there, not thinking too much whilst I was there. So during my life, I've seen myself now with perspective that I would try to find some quiet places. But how can we do this in the middle of everything, in the middle of our job or different activities? So perhaps I could explain, for me, solitude, what it is to have that connection with myself, in which I don't feel that I'm escaping from anyone. I'm not escaping from my responsibilities, but just find time here and there. It may be long time, it may be 1 hour, or it may just be some seconds where I am aware of who I am, and that time, having this close connection with me, gives me power. It's not a waste of time. Sure. It's not a waste of time. People think, oh, but I cannot stop doing anything. I have many things to do. Of course, we all have things to do, but just breathe consciously, or just take some moments to drink a glass of water, or just doing nothing. When I experience solitude, many times it's in public transport. Here in Barcelona, we move by underground a lot. So I just take those moments just to be there, experiencing solitude. And it may be crowded, but so it's an inner experience.
Right. I want to go back to this comment that you made, Marta, about that you were naturally shy and as a child, and for you it was more of an you didn't use the word effort, but it took more, you had to pay more attention to being with people. So it doesn't sound like that's the situation now, that it's not so much a matter of shyness that you like solitude, but and that you seek it, but more because of things that you gain from it. But I wonder, for people who are choosing to experience solitude or would like to, do you actually have to be an introvert?
Well, there is this tendency that, yes, if you are an introverted person, it may be easier for you. But when you experience the benefits of it, then you keep practicing it and it becomes more natural. You may be a very extroverted person or just wanting to share with everyone. But when you feel the benefits of it, you would just find time to be with yourself. But what is really important for me, and this is the difference between shyness and just loving solitude, is that it's not escaping anymore. When I was a child, I realized later on, it was like escaping from the reality. Now it's not escaping, but the contrary. It's the place, the space within where I can just feel stronger, more empowered, so that I can keep being with everyone and sharing from within. Otherwise, it's just, okay, everyone is so active, doing, outside. But let me just go within, and from that inner sacred space, let's go out. And whatever we may share that comes from that inner sacred space, that will be meaningful.
Right. So it doesn't actually have to be, you don't actually have to be an introvert to appreciate solitude. And it's not a matter of escaping anything, perhaps a disposition to shyness or a disposition to, avoiding responsibilities or anything, but that it's more, a person might gravitate to solitude, and whether they're introverted or extroverted, because of the experience of solitude and the benefits that gives. Is that pretty how much you see it now?
Sorry, what the last question?
Is that how you see it now? Whereas you're not so much the people.
Sorry,
it's not.
Yeah, because when you speak too fast, I don't understand. Sorry.
My apologies. I'll slow down.
Yes. Yeah. So yes, it's true that the more you experience introvertness, then perhaps it's my case, you don't feel talking too much. So I also realize that from solitude, I can understand when I'm losing energy just being extroverted, and when I'm in solitude, I gain energy, which is just the opposite. And nowadays that we think so many different things, then I think extra if I need to do many things. And it's not that I don't do many things, but whatever I'm doing comes from a more calm space. And from there, the thoughts will be the right thoughts. The thinking will be the right thinking. Then the words I would use will be less and more concentrated. So yes, perhaps what you were saying about being introverted or not, as you practice, I think that you will be able to experience the difference of what happens in a more extroverted way and what happens when you find time for yourself just to be in that solitude.
So what kind of benefits have you experienced from being in solitude, Marta? What are the benefits generally, and also, specifically, what have you benefited from? You've talked about, gaining energy and replenishing yourself. Is that generally true as one of the benefits for solitude?
Yes, because also talking about the benefits, it's I am quite interested in finding ways of conserving the energy. Does it make sense, this sentence?
Yeah.
Okay, I may know in what ways I'm losing my energy. I also may want to know how to gain energy, but also how to conserve the energy. For example, perhaps people that are watching us now, they may have the practice of having some moments a day to meditate, or if not, perhaps someone is thinking about it. And at the beginning of the day, it's quite useful to have some moments in silence, in solitude. So, but then during the day, so many things happen that if I have the practice, every now and then I can keep watching myself and saying, okay, I don't want to enter into this conversation. For me, is one of the biggest benefits is that I'm more aware. I'm more aware of what's happening around me, but inside me. And seeing that if I get involved in this conversation that goes nowhere, then I will lose energy. If I get involved in this strong dialogue, I would lose my energy. And I try to conserve the energy and use it to what is more useful and what is my purpose in these days. So for me to be aware and not just continue with the automatic pilot, when you just move like a machine. Once I saw myself like I was watching me from outside, it was quite a powerful experience for me. And I thought, oh, this is like a machine. And that was like, okay, I don't want to be a machine anymore. I just want to be the one that decides what I want to do, what I want to say, and what I don't want to. And solitude has been the way to just have that wider, subtle vision, understanding what I couldn't understand. Just, how can I say, in solitude, you are more aware of subtlety.
Right. Yeah, that's a beautiful experience, isn't it, of being more aware of subtlety and being able to then, when you engage, come into sound or engage, being able to be more discerning around what you're going to participate in and what you're not, because you're aware of your energy.
And in that subtlety, what I'm talking about my experience, perhaps I'm talking to someone and that person is saying certain words, but beyond those words, that person is saying something else. If I just stay with the words, I will miss what that person's heart is saying without words. But when you experience that level of subtlety, you can see that that person is not only saying, where is this? That person is saying, please pay attention to me.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. So some of the benefits, being able to conserve your energy, being able to subtly connect with others and engage with them in a deeper way, and being able to discern what you're going to be involved in and what you're not going to be involved in, and aligning that with your purpose. They sound like some really significant benefits of being in solitude. And yet, for a lot of people, they find it quite difficult. I mean, some people will naturally gravitate to it, but others will find it quite difficult. So what are some of the barriers to solitude?
Nowadays, there are so many inputs, not only from people, but from gadgets and so many information we are receiving.
Right.
And if I want to pay attention to this message coming now and this message coming now and this and that, I have excuses enough just to not pay attention to myself. But what it's good practice for me, and I want to share with everyone, is that I give some time to check my messages. It's not that I'm always connected. Even I like to go for a walk without my mobile phone.
Right.
So
yes,
because it's simple things, but it's like message, and then you say, okay, I just want to be in solitude. But then it's and you may reverse the priorities in your life. For example, thinking, no, it's important to do this, it's important to do that. I need to answer, but is that urgent? I mean, I'm not saying it's not important, but is it that it's now that I need to answer that? Because being in solitude, it's also a chance to have a meeting with myself. And it's not that it's being selfish. Some people say to me that, you know, those people that meditate, it's like they are selfish because they only want to be with themselves and they don't care anyone else. And I don't think like that. I think it's a way to just experience, and with that experience of peace, of tranquility, then the connection with others will be better. So if someone says, okay, I don't know what to do to be in solitude, because I think for the Westerners, we always think that we need to do something, and it's about not doing, just being. But if someone feels it's difficult, then there are some other ways. For example, it's also very useful to me to write. Okay, if I am not concentrated today, okay? So, okay, I may just want to have a piece of paper and a pen and just write something about you, something that bothers you, or something that you want to think of, but just a way, like a method to give time to yourself. And you will discover that it gives such a good experience to become friend of yourself. It sounds silly, but you know, I think it's time.
It doesn't sound
It's
silly
time
at all.
for us to be friends of ourselves, because I also found that I was trying to find my best friend, you know, here and there and everywhere. And then one day I thought, okay, perhaps it's about me. Perhaps it's good to have a good connection with the self and enjoy your own company, so that you get to know more about you, and then you will be able to have a different level of communication with others. And I'm interested in going into the depth in the conversations. You know, with some people, it's quite superficial. And yeah.
So those are some lovely things you're saying there, Marta. Like it's quite a challenge to put down your mobile phone. Living at the retreat centre here, everyone brings their mobile phones, and even experienced meditators bring their phones into the meditation room. But you know that we've become so reliant on these technologies, and also so pulled to being constantly available. And I think you've laid down a lovely challenge there, Marta, to say, put away your mobile phone, make yourself unavailable. Yes, you'll come back to it. It's there. You can answer it later, but that might be the first step to being able to remove our dependency on being constantly engaged and being able to step into solitude. And this lovely thought that you're bringing up too around, you know, once you overcome those barriers that of feeling like you've got to constantly be available and engaged, and starting to privilege, you know, time for yourself. I loved what you're saying about becoming your best friend. And I thought when you said it, you know, that's that thing around, you know, I'm with myself all the time, 24/7. So what kind of company am I being to myself? And I think you explore solitude with that way of becoming your best friend. It was lovely, indeed. Yeah. So was that something that changed on your journey for you, whereas it began with shyness and it moved now into a positive preference where you are, you know, actively engaging with yourself and being your best friend to yourself?
Yes. When I saw myself being aware that I had put together what is important and what is urgent.
Lovely.
And then for me, that was like a click that, okay, I want to be responsible, and there are many important things, but not all of them are really urgent. And if I keep postponing to be with me always, because there are always other things to do, then I feel this with no inner power. But for example, one practice I have, because I've seen that even sitting on the table to eat, there is always the plate and the mobile phone, you know, for many people. And I also was doing that. So I said, okay, no, when I go to the dining room, then at the entrance, I leave my phone there. And then I sit. And just, even just eating, that can be a moment of solitude, you know?
Yes. Yes.
So, because otherwise we are just consumers of information, of inputs, and then we say, okay, yes, I love silence, but I don't give time to myself to be in silence.
Yeah.
So, this it's really important. Otherwise, it's an known addiction, a popular one, and we don't do anything because we think it's normal, but that it may be normal, it's not natural. So when you love yourself and you give time to be in solitude, then you go more towards what is natural rather than what is normal.
Yeah, so it's flipping the coin, isn't it? It's saying that no longer not wanting to avoid solitude or avoiding ourselves by filling ourselves up with and consuming so many outputs and that are from outside, whereas solitude and not wanting to, and I guess maybe that's why people fear it, because actually what we're doing in solitude is really engaging fully with ourselves rather than all the externals.
And that may be scary.
It may be scary indeed.
It may be scary. Because
I like
when
what
you go on.
No, please, you go on.
No, because when I'm in silence or in solitude, it's like looking to myself at the mirror. And I cannot avoid seeing what is there. And I stop complaining about the others, because perhaps it's not about the others, it's about me. So better I don't look to myself, because it's uncomfortable. It may be uncomfortable, knowing that perhaps it was not someone else's fault, but it was my fault, for example, you know. So I think it's scary because of that, and because it's becoming more popular. Why not to say it? But it's not for everyone. Just if you say to someone, okay, let's just spend some moments in silence, and it's in silence like a gap for something, instead of enjoying that particular moment. It's not like a waiting room for whatever happens next, but just to enjoy those moments of silence. And it may go from just breathing, fully aware of what you are doing, or just trying to listen to whatever is happening inside, or just seeing how the level of thoughts is reducing, or just loving yourself and seeing that there are so many good reasons to love yourself. Actually, there doesn't need to have any reason, just to love yourself, because everyone is so valuable. So I am scared of loving myself, and some people have been so harsh to themselves that they don't think they deserve loving themselves. So whenever they are in silence or in solitude, it's a way connecting with that, you know. So, okay, just be like massaging the self. Also, time for solitude is okay. Just I disconnect from whatever is happening around, and I just listen to myself deeply. And in solitude, I've seen people crying of like, okay, they allow themselves to go to parts of themselves that have been rejected and that needed to be healed. And when they give time to themselves, again, they are confronting that. And they can do two things. They can just, okay, let me watch what's happening next in my agenda so that I don't see that again. Or, okay, this is what's happening. Let me just be here. Let me see what is there. And solitude, I think, gives us the time to process things. So there are different areas in solitude, I think. That I can use solitude some moments just to reflect and to process things, to write things that I need to give more attention to. Or it can be a moment of concentration and just silence and just being who you are. And I think both things go together and are needed.
Look, we're at a point, I think, where it would be really beneficial for you to lead us in a meditation to actually take us into the experience of solitude. You've made some really important points here. You've talked about things like if you're finding it hard and one of the barriers of getting into solitude, you're finding it hard to, pick up a piece of paper and a pen and just start a reflective flow of your thoughts and feelings onto the paper. And we've looked at some of the barriers and this aspect of, sometimes it's just a facing ourselves and seeing what's there and maybe being as scared of the dark within ourselves as we are scared of the light within ourselves, and maybe even being scared of self-love. You've raised some really lovely points. I think it would be really useful if we just pushed pause at the moment and if you would take us into the experience of solitude through a meditation commentary.
Okay. So let's find a moment just to be with the being we are, with the being you are. You may want to hear or you may want to listen to. So I recommend you that you use this quality time just to be with you. Just to connect with the being you are. You put aside your roles and your responsibilities. Just enjoy this moment. Doing nothing and being the special, wonderful, powerful being you are. You are seated in the quiet, sacred space within you. That sacred space that has always been there for you. You just need to disconnect from an active way of being. And for some moments, just being aware of you. And while you do this, you enjoy being with you. In the same way that you love being with people and you love enjoying someone's company. Just now enjoy the company of the being you are. This is the time to love yourself, to appreciate yourself, and perhaps to forgive yourself. And remember, you just need to be who you are. Let's now spend some moments in silence and just try to be here and now with you. And see, how is it? And see how important it is just to give you some time, quality time, to be with you. Breathe in and breathe out. And observe yourself. It's good also to just say to yourself, Om Shanti. Om, by yourself, peace, Shanti. This is what I really am. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Marta. Yes, I was beginning to really experience that feeling of being very inward and enjoying it. I wondered too how you practice solitude during your day. How do you find those moments, or what does your day look like in terms of your practice of solitude? Because I actually know you live a very busy life and you're around a lot of people a lot of the time. So tell us about your day in terms of the practice of solitude.
For me, it's important my early morning meditation, and that's like the key moment of the day. But even before I sit to create those moments of solitude, I like just to. It's very common what I'm going to say. I just like to take my cup of coffee and to open the window or to go to the terrace and walk, watching the stars. And that's the beginning of the day when I just enjoy the freshness. Now the weather is so pleasant here. And after that, I sit really to meditate. And in those moments of solitude, sorry, let me just check this. Hope everything goes okay. Sorry. So when I sit in those moments of silence, I also like to connect with the divine, the supreme energy, the universal light, or whatever you want to call that energy. And those moments are like the moments that give energy for the day. So, because when we are active, as many people are, we need to have moments of real solitude. And having those moments of real solitude, then during the day, you can recall those, or you can recreate them. But after that, I'll be available for everyone. But I need to give importance to the time I give to myself. This is something very clear to me. And then during the day, I like to stop every now and then. Sometimes if you are talking on the phone or just, okay, but we always have time. It's not true that we don't have time. Because when I saw myself also saying, no, I don't have time now, or no, I can't stop. But then not even for a minute, not even for 30 seconds, it's an illusion saying that I don't have time. Because we all have time for whatever we want to. That's for sure. If I want to read a book and I really want to read it, I will find time to read it, right? So yes. It's a question of interest and priorities. So then during the day, and every day it's quite different, but I like to use if I'm going from one place to another, I may be talking on the phone at some point, but then other times when it's not that urgent or it doesn't need to be at that moment, then let me just enjoy having like those time for the self. And then at the end of the day, like 7, 8 o'clock, it's also good, and not only good, but healthy to reduce the brain activity. I've discovered that whenever I use my brain activity till right the moment I would go to bed, that's not healthy at all, because then the sleep is not that, it's not that useful to regenerate the cells and everything. So it's good just like a couple of hours before going to sleep, just to have a different mood, different speeds inside. So during the day, I'd like to have some moments like those.
So it's sounding like the beginning of your day, a dedicated time for solitude, and then doing moments of recharge, if you like, or reconnecting, going within again periodically throughout your day in those moments. And I think earlier you spoke of being on the train in Barcelona and taking time then to be reflective and move into solitude, and then you're closing your day again with like a dedicated period where you're really actively coming back to yourself and going into solitude again at the close of your day. So that sounds like a really good recipe for keeping yourself energized and vibrant. And so to me, it suggests while there's barriers to going into solitude, there's really bigger problems if you don't. Work overload, stress, burnout, all those sorts of things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there are many hard situations nowadays that everyone is facing, fears to different things. And for example, now here, this moment, it's very, very important because it's not raining for months and the country is going through I mean, it will really have repercussions economically everywhere. So now, yesterday I was going for a walk and I could see these signs saying we are not watering the plants because of the shortage of water, like this everywhere, So, it's not that people is not talking, but it's feeling, and different hard situations, or when someone loses a beloved one, or so. Then it may just seem simple, just saying, okay, just go and be with yourself. But I find the key to have more tools to deal with those situations that we are surrounded by those, and climate change. And today is the International Day of the Earth, and we are quite aware of what are we doing to the earth, and how are we taking care of everything, how are we taking care of the oceans or everything, and but not only this as a wider way, but to our closer reality. So now more than ever, I think that these small like drops of peace, drops of silence here and there may help us enormously, not only individually, but also as a human family, it's now the time that we try to, I wouldn't say solve things, but to see things from a different way. As we've been doing till now, perhaps it's not being that useful. So let's find different ways of relating to the problems of the day-to-day life. So also it's important that everyone gives time to the self and gives time to just be open. And I was reading recently that everyone, even those that say, no, I don't believe, or at some moment they would say, oh my God. And I'm not talking about God as a belief, but like an experience of something higher, and how when there is nothing to hang on, I think that this practice regularly can help us and can help the world and humanity to see things in a different way. And this is the moment now that let's find another way. And then if I have in the middle of something really important to me, then I will have that moment. And let me just share something here. It's just 2 weeks ago that a friend of mine died, passed away after a long sickness. And I had such a good experience just being there in the last hours. And that was so powerful. And the family she had is such a, I mean, good family. And they were not talking. And the silence and the solitude I could experience being at home with her and with them was, okay, a bit of sadness, but not only sadness, but really peaceful. And I could realize that peace in the atmosphere could help her in that final movement, you know. So I've been thinking a lot about it, and how whatever is really important happens in silence. For example, when a baby is born, although it may be lots of movement around and doctors and nurses and, you know, but the act itself of giving life is a silent one. When someone is doing a research, that moment comes from silence. When someone is dying, of course, it's a moment of silence. So there is no reason just to escape from it, because everything important happens from that solitude experience. So if I have that practice of being more in solitude every now and then whenever I'm in the middle of a situation like those, I wouldn't be afraid, or I would just want to be there to give the best of myself in those situations, I think.
Yeah, look, I love what you're saying here, Marta, about silence means, or solitude meaning spending time in silence, which enables us to get in touch with that very pure, original, perfect self, and to re-engage with our self-love, and that this silence or this energy can come back to us during the day when we need it. And it's this silence that really helps us go within and recognize our own inner well-being, if you like. But also you're talking about the power of silence as something that can assist others vibrationally, I guess is what you're really saying here. Can you tell us a little bit more about the power of silence in your experience? And you've shared some of it already, but how, maybe you could explain how the power of silence actually works, and how we can become more like agents for the power of silence, use the power of silence and fill ourselves with that power.
Yes, it's connected with the power of thought. Our thoughts are really powerful. If I have a negative thought, that negativeness will reach everywhere. I will not be aware, and I think, okay, I'm just thinking this, but the vibration is reaching everywhere. If I'm having a positive thought, that thought will color the room where I am. If I'm having a powerful thought, a thought that is full with peace and love and strength, and that thought will give energy to wherever I am. So it's not, silence is not emptiness. Silence is not being sad. Silence, it may, we are thinking, but my experience is that from thought to thought, there is some distance. I mean, when I'm thinking too much, I will have one thought, like so many thoughts. Sometimes even it may think that I'm thinking different things at the same time if I'm thinking too much, because my speed is just like that. But the more I reduce the level of my thinking, and this is what solitude comes to tell me, that I can reduce the level of my thinking, then I may just think one thought, like I'm a peaceful being, but that thought will have a different speed. And then I may think that I'm not thinking, but it's just being stable in the level of thoughts you choose to have. And this may seem quite complicated, but I think that it's quite easy to understand like this. If I am at home, I just come from work and I just lay down on my sofa and I just want to relax, and I feel, oh, now, why are you like that? Because you've allowed yourself, not being aware of it, but you've allowed yourself just to not think too much. This is why you feel yourself more harmony, balanced, free, because you've changed something here. So now, if we can do this consciously, then, okay, I see myself that I'm thinking less and less and less. It's not that I'm not thinking, but I'm holding a thought that may be useful to me at that moment. So, and that is creating a vibration. Really, it is. It is creating that vibration that reaches not only the room where I am at now, but it reaches the universe. You know what, Gabrielle, when I saw the title of your program, I loved it so much. Universe,
Yeah.
It's like this. It goes from you to the universe. And it's like this. This is the power of silence.
Yeah. So this practice of solitude and taking us into that, that deep experience of silence and the power of silence, contrary to what people think, that it's it's self-indulgent and so on, it's actually the opposite. It is a very benevolent activity, in that when you're in that state of silence, those vibrations are moving firstly through your body and healing, but moving towards the people that you connect with. And from what you're saying, it's moving further than that, but out into the world and in a very positive way. So that's extremely powerful, subtle and yet very powerful.
It is. It's. I think sometimes that if thoughts could be seen, sometimes we would prefer that not everyone sees what we are thinking. But on the other side, if we could see, how they are spread. So it's my responsibility. And also solitude teaches me that I am not someone like a result of what's happening outside, but I am as I am in relationship of what I'm thinking, and how aware am I of what
That's lovely. I'm in relationship with what I'm thinking. That's very powerful, isn't it?
Because many people think that, okay, but because of this, if you would have this problem, if you would have that problem, you wouldn't think like this. No, reality is really hard. You know, of course, realities are so nice and beautiful, and it's good. No, but I'm talking about that other people side, that people may think that it's not just like this. And of course, it's not just like that. But when you find something that it's good for you, you want to keep practicing. So I think that this is one of the things that I would like to invite everyone to keep practicing, like little pills of silence and solitude, and practice. And one day you will not feel concentrated. Another day, perhaps you just feel relaxed and you feel okay. The other day you will feel the power of it. But when we practice consistently, then the results are there. And the energy we project is the energy that comes to us too. And this is, I think you call it in English, the law of attraction.
Yes, the law of attraction. Yes.
So it's really like that. Whatever is happening to me, it's because of the energy I'm sending out.
Yeah. Marta, I want to just sort of go a little more deeply with you in terms of this aspect of meditation. So how does meditation deepen your experience of solitude? But also, there's a few things to unpack here, like how do you meditate? And you mentioned earlier that you connect with the divine or a higher being. I think you referred to it as light and so on. But I'd love to hear you just talk a little bit about, or share your experiences, but how you actually meditate and that connection with the divine. So we've talked about going within and, you know, and engaging and nourishing yourself. What's the process of meditation? It sounds a lot more than just you know, journeying inwards and connecting with yourself and the qualities that are there. So
yes, to connect with the self. There. Yes, to connect with the self is a starting point. I mean, I can think of that energy, which is fine. But if I want to experience it, it has to be, I was talking before about the subtlety. I need to go from a different inner stage. So to be with the self, that's for me the starting point. And then just from that atmosphere that is created, I experience less the heaviness of the body. You know, when you are fully relaxed, it's like if the body was not, the weight was less and less and less, like a feather. So that's one thing. And then from that subtlety, it's more easy to just being more open to that experience of that supreme energy. And I could see that it's like being immersed in an ocean of powerful light, in that connection with that energy that is always irradiating whatever is positive and powerful. Just being. I just like to just be there, and the concentration is developed there. To concentrate means to centrate, to all the energy that is divided into many diverse in different ways. I'm concentrating it into a point. So that's when it seems that I'm not thinking, but it's just you allow the self to be more stable in that connection and just be there and just experience how you are being loved and respected and cared, but just do nothing, just be there, like merged. And it happens in a very natural way that whatever you experience, you just want to share it with everyone, right? So after that, for me, the third step is when at the end of the meditation, you may want to visualize the earth or nature or human family and just keep sharing with them with that from those vibrations you just experienced before. And this is one thing when meditating. But then in day-to-day life, I also like to see those moments in which magic happened. You know, when you are really aware that you didn't thought of it before, that you had forgotten something, and just like that, it's like something happens, you know. So when those moments happen to me, I don't know if it's like that, but I just like to say, okay, thank you. like there is something extra that I think it's ego to think that it's because of me, because many times it's not because of it may, but many times it's not because of me. But that energy that is there, caring for each and every one of us, and I can acknowledge those moments when I listen to silence, because it seems strange, right? Listen to silence. But silence can be listened to. And also, it's not like a voice like talking to you. No, I wouldn't say like that. But it's the sensation you have or the feeling you have of something else. So this is why you keep practicing meditation as a way of going inwards, going upwards, if we can say it like that. That's a good connection that we all need. And then with some, you will be able to talk. With some, you may not want to talk to them about these things, but at least you will be able to spread this energy with whomever around you.
Yeah. It's these power vibrations is astounding. I remember being in Assisi in Italy and going into the tomb of Saint Clara there, and the silence in this space was phenomenal. You could absolutely feel the silence, and this was a place, and I think a lot of people would relate to that, because, you know, whether it's in the silence in a place of importance, whether that's a church or a mosque, perhaps it's in nature, but that experience of silence. And you are explaining a way in your meditation where you can access that in a very deliberate way, because of course you can't always be in a nature or a place where you easily experience it, but you're talking about accessing it in that journey upwards in your meditation process. Can you expand on that a little bit more, Marta? How does that actually happen for you, and what is that experience?
In that connection, I was saying?
Yeah, and that connection, the connection, you've talked about it as, excuse me, connecting with that energy and feeling that positive energy. How do you relate to that energy? What is that for you?
It varies. Sometimes, for a while, even in that connection, I was using a lot my head. Then I realized it was not, it hadn't to be with the head, but with the heart.
Right. Yeah.
So nowadays, because it's always like to change, it's always nice to change. So now I am more like connected with the feelings, and just wanting just to be there. And those moments when when you feel happy and you enjoy that moment, it's like if time would stop, right? So it's, oh, half an hour has gone by. I didn't realize it was so long. So it's a bit like that. When I enjoy those moments, I I just be there, and it's also a way of seeing another perspective of time, of reality. It's not that reality is what I can touch. There is another reality that it's happening, and I may not live it if I'm in another awareness. So solitude teaches me to grasp those moments that can only be experienced from silence. And it's not that it's always like that. And yes, when there are things happening and I, this keeps going on, then I tell myself, okay, now just see it and be more connected with the heart. And in that connection, when I feel loved and cared, then I also learn what does it mean to love, for example. Because yesterday, it was only yesterday, something happened with someone, and I was thinking, okay, what shall I do now? I don't want to have bad connection with anyone, So, and then I thought it's all about love.
Yeah.
It's all about loving, and I just need to keep sending vibrations of love to that person. So when I'm feeling that love myself, then I know what it is. And then this is what I just need to do, just sending love. And after a while, I'll be able to talk to that person and say, okay, but you've given that extra massage of loving that person from that vibration.
Right. So let's explore that a little, shall we? How does solitude improve your relationships with others? You've kind of touched on that. Would you like to expand on that a little bit more? Because, solitude by definition is not about people. It's about your relationship with yourself. And yet you're saying here, and very believably, that it's through the practice of solitude and being in silence that you can actually improve your relationships with others. How does that happen?
Yes, when I can also see how it's because I like to practice and to see life like a laboratory. So there was a point when I was quite afraid of strong personalities. There are some people that so I was like becoming smaller in front of those type of people, and then I thought, okay, each and everyone has their own space of solitude. Everyone has those moments of just being with themselves. And so why is it if instead of from my ego to connect with that someone's ego, because when something happens, it's because of ego, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't just feel hurt, for example. So how would it be, that connection, if I would see that person from my inner space of solitude, talking to that person from that space of solitude also? So then perhaps meeting that person, but from a different perspective, and seeing that there is nothing that would affect me if I don't allow it. And I've seen how relationships are improving. Still, I'm working on it, but I can see the difference. I can see the difference when talking from my best friend, I was explaining before, to that person's best friend. And it's different. So again, is seeing things from a different perspective, and perhaps with the eye of wisdom and spirituality.
Yeah, the eye of wisdom and spirituality, very, very powerful, and the subtlety of that. I was reading recently something from Dadi Janki, and And of course, you know her. She was the chief of the Brahma Kumaris, the administrative head of the Brahma Kumaris, before she left the body. What was it? About 6 years ago now? 3 years ago.
2020, yes.
2020, 3 years ago. My goodness. And it was in one of her books, Companion of God, and she was saying that with introspection, I can take charge of my mind and purify my intellect and change any habit I want to. And I thought that was incredibly profound. I mean, if I consider the amount of energy and time and money we spend on ill habits, and the amount of time, energy, and money we spend on trying to get rid of habits that aren't useful to us, that she's saying that with the power of introspection, I can take charge of my mind and actually purify my intellect and change any habit I want to. Over the course of your spiritual journey, Marta, have you found this to be true? Have you been able to change habits? I know it's true in the sense that you talked about moving from shyness to a position of empowerment and an ability to be able to move easily in the company of people with different personality traits, like people who are quite dominant. But for people who are listening, what would you say to them about wanting to change a habit and being able to use introspection to do that?
Yes. You know what? I had lots of anger. I could be furious. Now I can see that there are traits like impatience or wanting to control, because if I get angry with someone, it's because I'm not accepting something, so I want to control. So if I like to see when there is a tendency I want to change, I need to see myself in that situation. What's happening here? And again, it's like watching myself, looking to myself to the mirror and say, okay, wow, this is there. So if I see myself and I don't want to see myself like that, then I would see what I need to practice more. So I am being violent and I want to be peaceful. And so to practice more that quality, that negative behavior, for example, is creating an obstacle to experience that. So only when that was long back, I was seeing myself in that situation, and that was like, wow, you know, I think it's very important to acknowledge that that is in me. I'm not saying I'm like that. I'm saying that tendency is in me. It's because in my original being, I know it's not there. So seeing that and paying attention that, and I can also foresee if those type of situations may press the button to that thing to express, then okay, I know that I may go to a space today when perhaps, you know, I'm not imagining, I'm not creating it beforehand, but I just want to be aware so that I can control, in this case, I can control myself. And when I'm seeing these little changes, then I know how useful it is to those moments of solitude where I can see myself. And then now that in that way, it's not there, but I can see little trace of it, like impatience or feeling perhaps certain being uncomfortable, or no one knows anything, but I know that those traces are still there. So I see that if it could be reduced, then it's possible to change. Because this, when I say, no, I'm always been like this, I'll be like this because it's my nature. No, my nature is being peaceful. That's my nature. And so I can change. And most of the important is to keep loving yourself. Okay, you detect that, but you are still valuable. You are still someone that it's It's a wonderful being. So just keep loving yourself so that you go from, it's not that because you detect something, you are bad or you are, no, just, okay, I realize that. So let's increase other patterns, other ways of behaving so that that can be removed. So yes, it's we need to keep practicing.
Yeah. And isn't that a beautiful way to change a habit that's causing us distress or others distress, is that being able to turn within and reach into our own pure, original, perfect self or way of being, and re-emerge that. That's a lovely message of re-engaging with your self-love and growing that, and allowing the other things to just naturally reduce. Marta, I wonder if you would take us into a meditation again and connect us with this divine being, the divine energy that you talk of, so that we can deeply feel that sense of silence as we move within.
Okay, good. I invite you to experience the closeness with yourself again. In that sacred space within. Being aware of who you really are. Being aware of your peaceful nature, your loving nature. And in this way, you are more focused on the true being you are. In this peaceful atmosphere, you can also feel that you are close to the Supreme Being, the nature, the being that his nature is loving and powerful and wise. And now it's about experiencing this connection with the ocean of peace, the ocean of love, where you need to do nothing, just be immersed in this powerful wave that heals, that nature, that loves you. And this connection is giving you the strength to realize that you can be as you want to be. And from this divine energy, experience now what you feel that is needed in you. Yes, perhaps you feel that there is a need in you to be more powerful, or you would like to experience more love, or you need to heal something inside. Just be there, concentrated, allowing the divine to keep being with you, to let you experience the greatness of this moment, which is so precious. Because the divine knows you, perhaps more than what you know yourself, understands you, cares for you. And just be there in silence, in solitude. You are enjoying your own company, and you are also enjoying this divine company that is not far away. It's just at the distance of a thought, a powerful thought, a subtle thought. So now just be there in silence, in this divine connection. Enjoy this moment. And perhaps, who knows, this is the experience you wanted to have. And it was not about going outwards, but it was about going inwards. And from your inner sacred space, you can also experience the sacred space in that being. Om Shanti.
Marta, thank you for that. It was a lovely journey that you've taken us on, and being able to experience that connection with the divine in that way is indeed a very rich relationship. And it seems to me that the more we understand ourselves in solitude and allow ourselves the time to go into solitude so that we can really begin to understand ourselves fully and then connect with the divine in that sacred space that you took us to, then the more we're able to accept ourselves, to love ourselves and others, and then in turn deal with the world and the situations that arise. And many of these situations arising at the moment, but being able to deal with them and respond to them in a very positive way. Marta, thank you for your sharing tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying the way that you've been demystifying solitude, and you've spoken with a lot of insight and depth, and you've spoken authentically, eloquently, and very personally. So thank you for sharing your inner world with us. And thanks too, because I've really appreciated the way you navigate your inner world. It's very inspiring. So thank you, Marta.
Thank you.
Okay, so viewers, you might like to browse our online bookshop, Eternity Inc., which has a full online range of books on self-empowerment and spirituality, a lot of books on silence and going into solitude and how to make the most of that experience. And they're always at not-for-profit prices. If you'd like to subscribe to Open Your Eyes to the Universe, to receive monthly updates, then please email us at special.events@au.brahmakumaris.org. And finally, our next episode of Open Your Eyes to the Universe is on Saturday, the 27th of May. And again, it's at 6 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. We're going to close out tonight, and we'll be playing a song from Bliss, and it's aptly called Silence. So until we see you again on the 27th of May, take care, walk lightly on this earth, make time for yourself to go into silence, to foster and enjoy your own good company and share that good company with others, and let those vibrations ripple around the world. Om Shanti.